From the Studio 13 Studios in Splendora, Texas.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Hank's Think Tank. It's the weekend, that's why we're here. So I've got Tim Beasley in today. And Tim is an impersonator, so he does impersonations of, quite a multitude of movie stars, rock and roll stars, singers, songwriters, pretty much everything else.
Historical people, and even sports figures.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he owns a company called TBC Stars Entertainment.
Actually, let me correct that. That was the original Grandpa website. The one I use now is VegasTributes.com. Very simple, VegasTributes.com. I have another called TheMartiniMen.com, and that kind of like is a showcase of my Las Vegas style shows.
Okay.
But Vegas Tributes is the umbrella that covers about 100 of them.
Okay. And you do Las Vegas style entertainment coast to coast, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, he's based in Virginia, but will travel around, and we actually found him in Texas, and I pulled him away from a show he was doing and said, come on, man, let's do the podcast.
Yeah.
So he decided to do it. Just to give you an idea of who this guy's worked with, his clients have ranged anywhere from, I'm going to give you a list, Walmart, Verizon, the U.S. Army, Touchtone Pictures, the Family Channel, Pepsi, General Motors, a whole lot more, and a whole bunch of network and television shows as well.
So the Fortune 500 are good to me.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. So he's been around quite a lot. A little bit about the impersonations that he does. And I'm just going to give you the short list. So I've got Bobby Darin, Buddy Holly, Dean Martin, Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Jim Morrison, John Lennon, Neil Diamond, Rod Stewart, Roy Orbison, Tom Jones, and Tony Bennett. Man, what a list. And that's the short list. Well, Tim, welcome to the show, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Hank.
How you doing?
Doing fine. Like I say, here in Texas, I'm doing a big promotional show for some Texas realtors in a town called Todd Mission.
Okay.
And they have torn up some ground to build some fine houses out there. So I'm there tomorrow as Willie Nelson. Okay. Oh, yeah, Willie Nelson. That's right, a Texas boy. And I was there yesterday. Today I had a day off for this grand opening. But I do a lot of iconic characters. Like you mentioned, Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
I've performed as Buddy Holly up north in Texas, up at Grapevine. A lot of places coast to coast. A lot of music festivals, like Clovis, New Mexico, had their Buddy Holly music festival. I was Buddy Holly, the main star for that. So Buddy's a popular character of mine.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. And all of the characters that you've chosen or seem to have chosen have really distinct voices. So I'm kind of surprised. It's a broad spectrum of characters. So I'm surprised you can do them all. Well, but I guess with practice, everything kind of comes down, huh?
Well, it's just like that. I've been in it for 38 years, and if I'm not halfway good at it by now, I'm making money for nothing. So
there you go.
No, I do a lot of shows, and it's funny. I've got some lady friends tells me she says, "You know who you sound like?" I say, "Who?" She said, "You sound like Johnny Carson doing all these impressions." So really.
You know, when I first met you, I thought you sounded like Johnny Carson a little bit.
Well, this is Johnny Carson. Hey, we got a really great show for you tonight. Yeah, Cher, Madonna, Prince, and Elvis will not be here. And so I started off, Johnny Carson was my kickstand for starting off in the entertainment business. So. Wow.
So how did you get started? I mean, you woke up one day and said, I'm going to start doing impressions for a living? Well, I mean, you could have been a plumber, man.
Well, the fun thing about it is I've enjoyed it so much. Even as a teenager, I was doing all the skits and things, and I would do parodies in high school. And I just had a flair for doing that type of a dramatic presentation. And I always enjoyed writing original comedy for these. So this comedy is a big piece of my action.
Sure.
I like to present all my characters in a fun way. This is like Elvis. I've done the Elvis show probably 4,000 times. I can sing all his songs upside down and backwards. Same with Rod Stewart or Billy Joel or Tom Jones or Neil Diamond. I've done so many of these, it's very easy to just change the inflection.
Yeah. Did you find that when Rod Stewart sings, he looks up at the sky all the time? It seems like every time I see him singing, he's looking straight up for some reason.
Well, his main thing is that screech he puts in his voice, like, I love you, honey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way he goes,
Yeah,
like
that's it.
hot legs.
Yeah.
But then again, when you talk about Neil Diamond, you talk about the guy who's got a voice like he's got diamonds in his gravel box. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way he's like calluses on all this from singing, Sweet Caroline. He's done it so many times,
Yeah.
it's like he's got gravel in his voice.
Yeah.
Or then you take Billy Joel. He's got that Long Island nasally sound, you know, which if you put it in a Southwest content, it becomes Willie Nelson.
Okay. There you go.
So it's funny how you just change these voices around.
Yeah.
Or like General Patton, you know, like from the movies. All right. Or you got basically any of your stars, like, how about President Ronald Wilson Reagan, our great 40th president?
Yeah.
I've done Reagan many times.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. I'm an impressionist, but I dress out the whole body of the characters I do. I'm not just doing the voices. I do the whole act.
Right. Yeah. So you've
the
got to do
top
all the
down.
inflections and everything else. That's got to
Well,
be something.
it's the costuming too. Like having a flair to know how you make. People look at my beard and all when I do the Willie Nelson. They go, "Is that really your hair?" Hey, sure is. I paid $1.95 for it.
Yeah.
Or any of those things. The props, the costuming. You got to have a knowledge of what you're doing with that, or you look like a kid in a Halloween outfit.
Right.
But there's a knack for wardrobe, makeup, make yourself look who you want to be. Mm-hmm. And I find it's a valuable tool for a lot of marketing people, because when you do these characters, you're appealing to a fan base.
Absolutely.
And they are the most critical and the most loving. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy it.
Well, let's talk about your influences a little bit. When you were a kid, I mean, were your parents in show business, or did
No.
anything like that at all?
No, none of my family have been. Well, my cousins were all in rock and roll bands back in the 60s.
Oh,
but
awesome.
Not me. I lived so far back in the sticks, I couldn't get 3 or 4 guys together long enough to have a band.
Yeah.
But here was the thing. I used to watch it at Tonight Show, which was like I say, my kickoff to becoming an entertainer. And just the love of that, I started developing a knack for this because, first off, I wanted to be a DJ.
Okay.
Because I used to listen to the greats.
Sure.
WABC, New York, 77. This is Cousin Brucey. Hey, welcome to the Cousin Brucey Show. We're going to be interviewing Roy Orbison. You know, and he had that funny DJ sound. And I said, or like Casey Kasem, American Top 40. I would love to hear these DJs. And I said, wouldn't that be great to be in a studio and all you're doing is spinning records? Back then they spun them. They actually did.
Yeah.
They didn't use carts and, computer.
Right.
But they'd actually take a physical record and set it down and spin it. Like I say, spinning records. And having a rap that they could talk to their audiences to where it sounded like you were talking directly to them.
Yeah, I've seen some of the old program cards that they had from years ago.
Yeah.
And I thought it would have a lot on it, but it was just a list of topics. Those guys were ad-libbing 100%.
That's what the charm was.
Crazy.
Yeah, the charm was they weren't just doing a rehearsed act.
Yeah.
It was like, this guy is, he's fluid.
Yeah.
He's ready to change at any pace at any time. Kind of like what you're doing here.
Yeah, I wish I was half that good. Unfortunately, I'm not. But,
Well,
yeah.
I'm really pleased to be here because how it happened, I had done a Frank Sinatra party for your friends out here in the green room.
Right.
And you remember that from 9.5 years ago?
That was a good long time ago, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I
do
told
remember.
them
Yeah.
that if I ever came back in the area, that I'd look them up. And we had done David Mullane's birthday party. It was his 50th, if he doesn't mind me saying how old he is.
Yeah.
And that was such a hit. I was Frank Sinatra, the chairman of the board. And everybody came dressed up in their black and whites, like it was the 1940s. And I came out with the silver hair and the swagger and the tux with the big bow and the red hanky. And I think I was Frank Sinatra for him for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. We had Liz's wife and all the gang. The girls got up and did a kick line to start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. So I did that, and the girls got in a kick line, and everybody just laughed and had the best time.
Yeah, it was a great party. I remember.
So
We haven't done something like that in a long time, and I'm hoping we do it again. But
well, the funny
good.
thing how this worked out is since I was coming back here, I had done a show also as Willie Nelson over here close by in the Woodlands at the Hyatt Centric Hotel.
Yeah.
A family they brought me in to do a tribute to a patriarch who had died. It was a celebration of life.
Okay.
And he was a Willie Nelson fan. So I got all the girls up there to get in line and, do the little number like, Mama, don't let your babies grow up to make cowboys. And I had cowgirl hats for them, and they up there, and they're doing a little kick line, like a little two-step. And they loved it so much.
Yeah.
And I hid my Lucky Lincoln as a good luck charm. You know those little road pennies you see on the road?
Oh, yeah.
I pick them up. I put them in my pocket. If I ever go someplace I want to go back, in the building or wherever, I take that penny and I hide it in a crevice or a crack in the wall or anything. And you know what? It seems to work.
Yeah.
So I told Liz and David, I said, if I ever get that happen, I'll be back. And here I am.
Wow. Good deal. Good deal.
But I've been all over this nation. I mean, all four corners of the country.
Yeah.
And I really like it here in Texas.
So what would you say your biggest show's been so far? And when I say biggest, I mean audience-wise, the biggest audience
Well, the biggest audience I had was, and the funny thing about it is, the U.S. Army is going to be celebrating their 250th birthday.
Yeah.
And all the big fanfare about, the military parades and all.
Sure.
I was honored to be chosen by the U.S. Army to be General Patton, the opening entertainer, the opening speaker at their 230th birthday party in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
I had 1,200 of the top brass of the U.S. Army. Had Vice President Dick Cheney was there. We also had the Pentagon, and this was in the Hilton, Washington.
Okay.
And then they broadcast it live to Radio Army or TV Army
Right.
around the world because it was their Army celebration. So that was deemed probably my biggest audience because it was live.
Yeah, I would say you had over 1 million easy.
Well, yeah, because
If that was broadcast everywhere.
it was almost required that all these Army recruits and service people see this around the world wherever they were. And it was quite an event.
Yeah. Most memorable?
Well, it's kind of funny. It's hard to say what would be most memorable. I've had the opportunity to interview people. Like I say, as like a master of ceremonies. I've interviewed Garth Brooks, for he was doing a show on the aircraft carrier, the Enterprise, for Thanksgiving. This was right after Operation Desert Storm was completed.
Okay.
And I got to interview him. And I never will forget when I asked him if I could get him a free ride on one of the Tomcats on the flight deck. He says, "Oh, no, man, I don't go anywhere that plane goes. It goes places I don't want to go." And he just laughed. And after it was broadcast, I heard from Entertainment Tonight, they said, "Who was that redheaded guy?" Wow. It's asking this obscene question about, will you get on a plane? And I said, that's what they broadcast. They said that was the real gist of what they wanted is to catch Garth in a funny mood.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garth's a good guy from what I hear anyway.
Yeah, he is. He's a really gentleman.
Yeah.
But I've worked with the Beach Boys. I've worked with the Average White Band. I've worked with Spencer Davis, a lot of the old classic rock guys.
Oh, yeah.
Eric Burden of the Animals. I'd be the master of ceremonies for these things with Clear Channel.
Yeah.
And I'd go out, and I know everybody'd always say, "Well, who was that guy?" But I'd get to do the emceeing.
That's awesome.
So that's a lot of fun.
All right, so here's a question I bet
Yeah.
you never get. Worst show. What's the worst time you've ever had? Maybe you were ill, maybe you tripped and fell down, or just had a bad person in the audience who wanted to ridicule you or whatever.
No.
You ever had anything that you thought was just an awful show?
It wasn't an awful show. I was doing a Tom Jones show in Ocean City, Maryland.
Yeah.
And it was at a place, it was kind of like a cocktail lounge place. And this gal got so drunk, I don't know what her problem was, but I'm trying to do the Tom Jones show, like, she's a lady, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm doing all that. And she comes up and constantly was grabbing that microphone and trying to take it away from me. And I said, well, I'll just let her have it. So I just stood there, and she started babbling on, and the owner says, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm not going to twist the microphone out of her arm. If you're not going to stop her, I'm not stopping her.
Yeah.
So finally, they got the bouncer to come over. I said, I ain't getting in a lawsuit because I broke a lady's arm trying to get the microphone from her.
Was she any good?
No, she was 4 sheets.
Oh, wow. That's too bad.
But she wanted to be in the show so bad. And I said, well, here, sing away, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Are there any impressions that you can't do that you'd like to be able to do?
No, it's
I
funny.
would imagine there's some tough ones out there.
Well,
I would think there'd be some tough ones.
the funny thing about it is I also do interpretations of characters. I've been coast to coast as Mark Twain. Nobody really knows what he sounds like, but a fellow that did the original Mark Twain impersonations, I can't remember his name, but he kind of like set the mold, and everybody thinks you got to sound like that guy did.
Yeah.
Or nobody really knows what he sounded like. Or Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, not many recordings of either of those guys.
Well, yeah, they didn't even have recordings of Poe,
Yeah.
of course, being as he was in the early 1800s.
Right, yeah.
But because of the way I could look and dress, I impressed the people of the International Edgar Allan Poe Society. I was the master of ceremonies for 5 years, from the first year to all through 5.
Wow.
And then they got a big name sponsor who wanted to put their own MC in. So
Yeah.
I said, that's fine. I took a final bow after 5 years.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that's okay.
That's not bad. So
Yeah.
you've worked all over the country, anywhere outside the country?
Well, I was Elvis, believe it or not. There's an old Elvis story. The 50th anniversary of the end of World War II was May 8th, 1995. I was in Hyde Park in London, London, England. And they hired me, the American Red Cross. They had hired me to be Elvis to represent the United States.
Okay.
Because this was 1 million people going to be in this. Maybe that was my biggest audience. There were 1 million people in Hyde Park. Now, I didn't have a live microphone, or I didn't have a camera person following me, but my job was to walk through this throng of 1 million people in this park following the little Serpentine River. And what I would do is I'd start singing a cappella.
Okay.
Or Acapulco, as Elvis would like to
There
say.
you go.
And what I would do is I'd say, like a crop circle, about the diameter of this room.
Yeah.
And people would form around because I had on the stars and stripes, and I had the sideburns, and I was looking good. And again, that was 30 years ago, 1995. Yeah. And I would do songs. I'd get everybody to say, okay, everybody, I want you to clap your hands. Here's the rhythm. Like that. Okay, everybody get your hands going. I said, and if you're not clapping, snap your fingers. And I said, I'm going to sing a song a cappella. It's called Return to Sender. So everybody be going. I gave a letter to the postman. He put it in his sack. Bright and early next morning, I brought my letter back. She wrote upon it, a return to sender. And everybody clapped their hands.
Yeah.
And I would move through this crowd of 1 million people. That's what they said it was, 1 million. And as I'd move, that crop circle of people around me would just open up. And I'd walk all the way through the crowd and do that over and over and over again. So that was a cappella Elvis in a 1 million people audience.
Wow.
So that was 1995.
That's cool.
So-
And you haven't slowed down since, have you?
No, it keeps me young.
Yeah, there you go. So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Still doing the same thing?
Well, I was doing General Patton when I was in my 30s. And now here I am in my 70s. So what the heck? I'm actually older than he was when he died.
Yeah.
But yet I'm growing into the character of General Patton. I mean, I know everything about him frontwards and backwards, like I was a member of his own family. That's been very popular. Also, President Ronald Reagan, which I gave you a little tidbit on that.
Yeah.
He's become quite popular and
Sure.
in current state of affairs. A lot of people are regarding the awesome 80s and the Reagan years, which were good years.
Yeah.
So I look at, I'll be doing Ronald Reagan probably another 10, 20 years.
Cool.
General Patton, another 10, 20 years. Even, people like Mark Twain, another 10, 20 years. So I've got the old guys I can always revert to. But you know the magic of it, Hank? I can put on a white jacket and those black specks and my black hair and put that strat in my arms, and I turn into a 22-year-old Buddy Holly like that.
Yeah.
It's magic.
Yeah, because you feel it. You become it.
Yeah, I do. Same thing with John Lennon, the Beatles, during his Beatle years.
Yeah.
Well, of course, nobody wants to forget Jerry Lee Lewis, the killer.
Yeah.
I have so much fun with that one.
Yeah.
Colorful characters. That's the ones you make your money on.
Yeah, I bet so. All right. So do you have an agent? How if somebody wants to book you, how do they go about doing it?
Well, you book directly with me. Like I say, my website, a lot of people want to buy my website, and I said it's not for sale. Because my son actually built my website, but I put the name on it. Vegas Tributes, all in one string, just Vegas Tributes. Very simple. .com. And every time you do that, it'll take you directly to my website.
Okay.
And you'll see 100 different. It's got, I call it the red carpet. It's got navigator tabs at the top.
Right.
And when you touch on it, it says stars list. It'll go from Abe Lincoln.
And you can pick whatever you want.
Yeah, it goes all the way down alphabetically, and there's 100 of them.
Yeah.
And so there's so many on there. Some of them I can't even remember off the top of my head. But when somebody says, "Hey, do you do Cliff from Cheers?" I go, "Oh yes, an amazing fact."
Yeah.
I got Snape from Harry Potter. Be careful what you say. People may be listening.
Yeah.
So I mean, I do characters. And who can forget Austin Powers, baby? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So anytime there's a character comes into vogue, I'll create him as an offering.
That's cool.
And again, half of my characters have been custom order. Somebody'd say, "We want Buddy Holly," or "We want Jerry Lee Lewis," or "We want Billy Joel." I'll say, "Give me a week if I've never done it before, and I will make it for you."
Yeah.
And
So you just start watching video, I guess?
Yeah, you educate yourself.
Yeah.
You get to know your characters like a member of your own family. That way you can revert to them real quick.
Sure. Wow. Have you had a lot of Donald Trump requests?
I used to do a lot of them. Apparently there's somebody out there very good, because I haven't been getting any lately.
Yeah.
But when he was doing his Apprentice,
Yeah.
I was doing appearances as Donald Trump for parades.
Yeah.
There were these food restaurant chains would have me come in and do the Apprentice challenge at their locations.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, when he had the bubble gum tie and the shirts with the white collars and
Yeah.
cuffs, but to be like a blue
Yeah,
shirt.
blue shirt, white collar. Yeah, I remember that.
His iconic look.
Yeah.
I was doing Trump. Gosh, I had probably 50 to 60 appearances for restaurants.
Wow.
But when I started doing, last big Trump thing I did was for his inauguration, and that was the first inauguration of 2017.
Yeah.
And that was down in Sanibel Island, Florida.
Okay.
And they had it at their sanctuary golf course down there. But all the GOP bigwigs there had me come down, and we had a whale of a party. It was his first inaugural.
Cool. Yeah.
September the 20th, 2017.
Great. Well, Tim, I appreciate you coming in, man. I know you're a busy guy, and I really do appreciate you taking time aside for this show.
Well, this is fun. I never turned down a good opportunity to talk to somebody that's in the entertainment like yourself.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you did great at David's party. We had such a good time. I'm hoping we do something like that again.
David was showing me a scrapbook with all the good pictures.
Is there a bunch of video out there somewhere where somebody can click on it and take a look? And...
Most of my website, as a matter of fact, Facebook. Put in Vegas Tributes, and you'll get to see a whole collage of those too.
Yeah, it's all there.
And it'll all pull up. And the website actually has links, hyperlinks to YouTubes and stuff.
Cool. All right, great. Well, Tim, I appreciate it. And you can leave all your personalities at the table, and I'll just have conversations with every one of those guys over the next couple of days.
I got a little joke about that. When people talk to me like we're talking here, I always say, I got multiple personality disorder. But when you have multiple personality disorder, you're never alone.
Well, there you go. That's it. All right, guys, there you have it. So if you want to, just go to the website, check it out, and you can book this guy for your next party or entertainment piece, whatever you got going on. He's great and fun to be around. Tim, I appreciate it.
Well, I thank you, Hank.
All right, I'm Hank Vatt. This is Hank's Think Tank, and see you in the next one.